And we begin tonight with Syria. The United Nations Chief Ban Ki-moon is asking the West to give diplomacy a chance before going forward with any military strike. But will the U.S. attack without the UN's okay? That's the big question, and VOA's Laurel Bowman is here with hopefully the answer. Welcome, Laurel.
Thank you, Demi. We went to war with Iraq, and the intelligence that decision was based on was later discredited. So it's with great care that the Obama administration plans to share proof with the public that Syria's government is behind a large-scale chemical attack on civilians. President Obama has not yet decided on a response, but he told reporters that a military strike could have a positive impact on U.S. national security. The searing images have been played and replayed and don't get any easier to watch. Residents of Damascus suburbs in shock, not knowing what they've been hit with, covering their faces, and in some cases, drifting off into a forever sleep. The Syrian government stands accused of the August 21st chemical weapons attack against civilians, but government officials say the rebels are to blame.
Armed terrorist groups use sarin gas in all these sites, and we repeat that the terrorist groups are the ones who used chemical weapons with American, British, and French encouragement.
The civil war in Syria is 3 years running, with more than 100,000 dead. But it's the alleged use of chemical weapons that has gotten the world's attention. The United States and its Western allies are serious, but cautious as they contemplate a military response.
We can take limited, tailored approaches, not getting drawn into a long conflict, not a repetition of Iraq, which I know a lot of people are worried about.
Meantime, UN diplomats are in Syria investigating, taking blood samples and speaking with patients. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon is urging Western allies to wait before taking any military action.
Let them complete their work for 4 days. And then we will have to analyze scientifically by the experts team.
The Arab League is also pushing for diplomacy. Torbjörn Solveig is a Syria analyst.
Clearly, a lot of the members of the Arab League probably unofficially support these strikes, but in terms of the domestic message, American strikes and Western military operations in the Middle East are still very contentious.
As the world waits, those images of dead or critically ill Syrians keep playing, especially those of the smallest victims, children who will never have a voice in the conflict. With eyes on the U.S. at home and abroad, the Obama administration is readying a legal argument for military action in Syria. But for many, the proposed response is too little, coming too late. VOA's Zlatica Hoke reports.
While world leaders pondered Wednesday how best to respond to Syria's alleged use of chemical weapons against its people, Syrian refugees in Jordan staged a demonstration in support of possible U.S. intervention.
We've protested today to say to the free world and to Obama that the time has come. The red line has been crossed by Assad. It's time to send a strong message to Bashar and to destroy Scud missiles and the chemical weapons, which have been used by criminals to kill honest civilians.
For some refugees in Jordan's Zatari camp, one of the world's largest, an intervention after 2 years of death and destruction in their country is too little, too late.
The military strike is late. It should have taken place 2 years ago, and the ultimatums given by NATO, the Western and Arab nations, should have been given a long time ago. They are too late. Our people have died, our people were slaughtered. Children, women, even old men.
While many Western leaders call for a military strike in Syria, some of their citizens are opposed to a costly military intervention at a time of economic austerity at home. A group of demonstrators gathered outside the Prime Minister's office in London after Britain sought UN backing for action against the Syrian government.
But they're going to make it worse. They're going to ruin it. And they're going to make it like Iraq, and we don't want it to happen there. We don't want Syria to be same as Iraq.
Commentator Brian Bender of the Boston Globe newspaper says the most recent public opinion polls show that 60% of Americans are opposed to any military role for the United States in Syria. He says the protracted war in Iraq is often given as the reason.
In the wake of the Iraq War, where weapons of mass destruction, chemical, biological, possibly nuclear weapons were the rationale for the war, and it turned out that Saddam Hussein did not have them, I think that there's going to be a lot of skepticism in the United States, but also abroad.
Bender says if President Obama decides on a military strike in Syria, he will have to convince the American public that it is necessary and also address the risks of expanding the U.S. role in the Syrian war. Zlatica Hoke, VOA News, Washington.
The U.S. has positioned warships and fighter jets in the region. Possible targets could include Syrian government aircraft, missiles, and other strategic weapons. Demi?